By with head coach Steve Wilks. Hey, Shrakes, take it away.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Joe Barksdale, an incredible guest there in New York, and we've got an incredible guest here in Indianapolis, the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Mr. Steve Wilks. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
This is great. So here we are at the Combine. This is now, 40, 50 days maybe after you just took the job with the Arizona Cardinals. What were the first 30 days like, getting your feet down on the ground in Arizona, and what's kind of the outlook here for the 2018 offseason?
Well, I'll tell you what, it went from like 0 to 100, to be honest. And, just putting together a staff, that's the most important thing. We got everybody in place. I'm very pleased with the guys that we have in place. When I started this process, I talked about trying to find coaches that had three characteristics. Number one, great teachers. I wanted guys that are great teachers, outstanding communicators, and guys that can really develop and take these guys to the next level. And, we've just been working hard, meeting with the college scouting, pro personnel, trying to really create a game plan for the Combine, most importantly, free agency.
Now, I know that there's rules with the CBA, who you can speak to, who you can't speak with, but there are some big-name players on the Arizona Cardinals roster, beloved players, Patrick Peterson, Larry Fitzgerald. Have you had a chance to connect with any of those guys, even if it was just informally, hey, dropping a line to them?
Most importantly, it was informal. Of course, we can't talk about football right now, but it's just really getting to know those guys a little bit, talking about my philosophy, and really getting excited about the 2018 season.
Yeah, and we head towards the 2018 season. We're here in Indianapolis, Steve, and your team currently has no quarterbacks on the roster, and that you need a quarterback. So when you're drawing out the blueprint, and you've got all these great draft prospects here, and you've got free agents out there, I feel like it's got to be almost overwhelming, but also a fun challenge for a team to kind of build the most important position from scratch, because right now you guys just have, Byron Leftwich in the room.
Well, when you start talking about a most important piece, you can't really win in this league without a quarterback. We know that. And Steve Keimer and I on the same page. From day one, we've been talking about a plan and a strategy, trying to figure out exactly which route we want to go. And you just mentioned it, Peter. You talked about free agency, possible trade, definitely trying to find a guy in the draft, if not one, all three. So we're looking very hard about the process and which direction we want to go.
You're a defensive coach by trade, but now you have the entire team under your purview here. The offense, you lose a Carson Palmer to retirement, obviously. There are other questions, but you get back a David Johnson. When you just watched him on film as a defensive coordinator, knowing kind of what this guy brings to the table, what does he do to you as a coach, and how does that excite you?
Let me say this right here. We all know right now the National Football League is pass happy. Everybody wants to throw the football, which is great. But as a defensive coordinator, there's nothing more demoralizing than a team running the ball on you. And I feel like we have one of the best running backs in the National Football League. And we're going to establish the run up front. I think everything that you do starts up front with the offense and defensive line, creating that mentality. So we're excited about David and the guys that we have coming back. You mentioned Larry Fitzgerald, a future Hall of Famer, first ballot. So we have the pieces in place. As I said from day one, this is not a rebuild, this is a retool.
A retool. And I want to go back in your career because I find your path so inspiring and so unique. We were joking before we came on camera. 1993, you're a wide receiver and defensive back for the Charlotte Rage of the Arena Football League. Did you ever see yourself in 2018 being a head coach of an NFL franchise?
Well, I'll tell you what, going through the process, I started out at Johnson C. Smith University, moved through the ranks. And one of the things I would always talk about, and I truly believe this, be big time where you are. All right, and that means taking care of what's in front of you. And once I really got to Notre Dame with Coach Willingham, that's when I really started seeing aspirations of being a head coach. And he started mentoring me a little bit, and I really got on that path. So I'm here now, and I'm excited about it.
And you get Larry Fitzgerald, which you mentioned. You said future Hall of Famer. In my career covering the NFL, maybe no better wide receiver in the span that I was as a journalist, and maybe no better guy off of it. What does having a player like Larry Fitzgerald mean to the Arizona Cardinals, both on the field and off in that community?
Well, when you start talking about Larry, as you just mentioned, he's a pillar of the community. But most importantly, I think he is the standard of the National Football League. You're talking about great character guy. We know what he is on the field, but what he brings off the field, just his involvement in the community, the things that he's doing. And he's a voice in that locker room, which is going to be a plus for us this year.
You had Kuechly, you had Thomas Davis, you had KK Short. But now you get some guys. Chandler Jones led the league in sacks last year. The Honey Badgers may be the best roaming safety in the league. How good could this Arizona defense be?
You know what? time will tell. We have, as you just mentioned, we have the pieces in place, and most importantly, I think we have the character in that locker room. These guys have been doing a tremendous job over the last couple of years. Spoke with Chandler, like I said, briefly, just introduced him myself, and I'm excited about getting him out there. You're right, one of the best defensive ends in the National Football League.
Ron Rivera and I have spoken before about you, and he says, you get in a room with Steve Wilks for 2 minutes, you're ready to run through a wall. How excited are you for that first training camp, welcome, OTAs, whatever it is, and getting these guys ready to go from an 8-8 squad to see what we can do in the next few years as the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you always got to go in there and establish your vision, your philosophy, and the foundation that you're trying to create and then move forward. And I'm looking forward to that first day. You know, you're talking about April the 3rd is right around the corner, so I can't wait to get all the guys in that one room so we can start talking about our direction in which we're going to go this year. So the one thing that I always talk about is trying to create and have a certain DNA. And when you look at the Arizona Cardinals next year, you're going to see our DNA. Number one, you're not going to be a football team in the National Football League that plays more physical, all right, than us and with more effort.
Okay, so let's go there. Physical. So what does that mean when I hear all this stuff about the pretty boy up in San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo? What does that mean if you're in the NFC West?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you come and watch us play, it's going to start up front with the offense and defensive line, but most importantly, again, across the board, a physical football team that plays with extreme effort. Number two, it's going to be playing smart. It's hard to win in the National Football League, and before you can win, you got to prevent yourself from losing. So number one, pre-snap, post-snap penalties. We're not going to tolerate that. Understanding situational football, 2 minute, time on the clock. What do we need? And most importantly, last, is the element of finishing. And it's not just so much about finishing on the field. All right, Peter, it's about finishing when you walk in the building. One of the things I believe in is being a student of the game. We're going to create an atmosphere that is conducive for learning. So when you come in that classroom, it's about getting better.
I'm gonna finish this up with this, and this is a question that you can answer or not answer. You've got Rosen, you've got Darnold, you've got Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, all these fun, exciting quarterbacks, Josh Allen. As a coach without a quarterback on the roster, is this combine very special for the Arizona Cardinals because of the rookie quarterback class coming in this year?
I would say yes, and for many reasons, as you just mentioned. But number one, we're looking for guys that are going to come in and compete. I love guys that love football. Going to come in and compete, take command of the huddle, take command of the locker room, be that leader on and off the football field. When you start talking about being the face of the franchise, that's the things that you're looking for, beyond the accuracy and all the stuff you talk about on the
hip
field.
Swivel, the 40 time, beyond all that stuff.
Yes, for sure. So, again, very exciting time for us.
Saturday morning, those quarterbacks are going to be throwing. You'll be in that room, right?
Oh, of course we'll be there. Steve Keim and I, once again, going to be in the booth, up there in the press box, talking, going through a few things, trying to once again finalize our plan moving forward for his free agency and the draft.
Steve Wilks has me ready to run through a wall, guys. Amazing stuff. Welcome to the